Hello, everyone. Welcome to Abnormal Investigations. We have a guest with us today. It should be a very interesting show, to say the least. I'm really excited about hearing some of his encounters and some of the things that he has encountered and investigated. I've been checking out a lot of his videos. Let me go ahead and bring Jess on.
Hello.
My cameras went crazy for a second. There we go. Oh, I was telling everybody that I got to check out some of our guest videos last night, and man, there's some wild stuff over there.
Yeah, he's got some good stuff.
I figured you would be ready for this one. I know everybody's ready in the chat for this one. Thank you, Tim, for that. God bless you for that. I'm going to go ahead without waiting around. And I'm going to go ahead and bring in everybody. Please welcome 401 Files to the show.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Hello.
I can hear you.
Oh, brilliant. Perfect.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too.
You've got some pretty amazing stuff going on over there.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's lots of history, paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, people seeing extraterrestrials, and just the whole range of phenomena. So it's a great place to explore and investigate.
Yeah, I bet. I would love to get over this earth sometime in my life and do my own.
It's crazy because I think a lot of people, especially outside of the UK, assume with it being an island that it can't have much phenomena happening over here. But we have the rich history. The UK is a very old island. So, for as small as it is, there is every walk of life being here. Vikings, Romans, the Normans, Saxons, you name it. Everybody's stepped foot on this tiny little island at some point or other. And a lot of blood has been shed. So there's definitely a lot of paranormal stuff that happens over here.
Yeah. I remember a few years ago I was in a group chat or a Facebook page talking about paranormal stuff, and there were people popping in from the UK saying, "Oh yeah, we're just lucky we don't have anything like this crazy stuff going on over here." And I'm going, you might want to check out a little bit more into that, because
it's so random that they should say it. I mean, like, one of the greatest horror films of all time was based off a haunting here in the UK, The Conjuring, based off a real life event that happened at Enfield. Real, notorious poltergeist activity case there. So there's a lot of that happening.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, The Conjuring scared me. That was a wild movie.
I think that they just threw the horrible little nun in there to spice things up a little bit. I don't think that actually happened in the real event, but yeah, brilliant film.
Yeah, it got me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So what got you investigating? What got you interested and investigating?
Growing up, I was brought up in a haunted house, a very active house with poltergeist activity, and obviously listening to all my elders, people having experiences of their own. I was thrown into that kind of world, listening to the adults talking about what had happened to them the night before or things that they'd seen. And so it really, I think my curiosity sparked from there. But then obviously I went on to have my own experiences living in that house. And around about the age of 10 years old, this would have been 1997, I had an experience with something that I believe is more leaning towards the extraterrestrial phenomena, which again only just increased my passion and interest for these subjects.
So at the house you lived at, did it seem like the paranormal and the extraterrestrial, did it seem to go together, to kind of coincide?
I mean, two very different situations. So growing up in the haunted house, the house active with poltergeist activity, I was pretty much born in that house, and then right up until the age of 18, when I left to join the army, I was experiencing phenomena in the house on and off for all those years. Whereas my extraterrestrial experience was kind of like a chance encounter. So very, very different experiences, but both equally as impactful. And I have no doubt I've shaped my life onto this journey where I am now.
What kind of activity did you have in the house growing up?
Sorry, say that again.
What kind of poltergeist activity did you have in the house growing up?
It was everything. So like on the movies where they show you this transition where usually in the start of the film the assailants will hear like a bang, or they'll see a shadow in the corner of their eye, and then it progresses slowly to where the entity starts talking. People will become harmed, or just the whole escalation like that you see in movies is exactly what we went through. It started off with things going missing. Even objects from our house would turn up in next door's house.
Really?
Yeah, so things would go missing, and they'd been missing for weeks, but then they'd show up in next door's house. There was other occasions where items would go missing. Everybody in the household would be looking. Every room would be searched, and then a room that had been searched maybe 3 or 4 times prior, there it would be in the middle of the room, stood up. So just really like almost playing games with the way that the behaviour unfolded. I was chased around the room from when I was about 5 or 6 years old. Do you want me to jump into this story real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's I'm interested in that stuff. It just like the paranormal for some reason.
Yeah.
It's scarier to me than the cryptid. I don't know why, but it always freaks me out. I've had a small amount of paranormal, and I'm just listening to you. I'm like, God, that stuff is like it always freaked me out.
Yeah, so I can dive into a few of the stories if you want from this house, because it's one of those things where I could talk about this forever and a day. Like even now, I'm 38 and I look back at that time of my life and it intrigues me now just as it did then. I'm still no closer to understanding what the hell was happening, or how this stuff comes to be, and that is exactly why I do what I do now with the YouTube channel and talking to like-minded people, because it fascinates me. Like what the hell is living amongst us that we can't see, touch, or communicate with to some degree, but it's able to manipulate the room that we're in. It's able to navigate around the furniture. It's, it can see us. It's speaking to us. That to me is weird. So anyway, I digress. I'll quickly tell you this story. I was about 5 or 6 years old, I believe, around that age bracket, and my brother and sister, who were both older than me, they were out at school, and my mum was about to go get in the bath upstairs. Around about this time, it was the kicking out time for school, so she knew that they'd be coming on their way home. So she said to me, Ben, I'm going to be getting in the bath, but I'll be locking the door because I don't want your brother and sister running in and not knowing that I'm in the bathroom. Do you want to sit downstairs, watch TV, or are you coming upstairs with me to play on your computer? So I chose to sit downstairs, and just like any 5 or 6 year old, I got bored after about 10 minutes, and I decided to turn the TV off. Now the TV was one of the old style TVs. If you press the off button, this static would fizzle up on the screen, and then all of a sudden it would just fade out gradually to a solid black image. So I'm sat in front of the TV, I press the button and I see the static come on the screen. It fizzles out, but then there is still something in the screen which would have roughly been positioned over my left shoulder, standing at the living room door. And the only way I can describe this was like looking at a heat wave on a really, really hot day. When you look down the road and you see that shimmer. It was like that, but it was vertical, and it was a cookie cutter shape of a human. So it had the head, it came down to the shoulders, and I couldn't see the feet. It was almost like it just stopped where the feet should have been. So I don't know what made me do this, but I didn't ever look directly at the door where this thing would have been stood. Instead, what I did was I just stood up and I moved back to the sofa where I'd just been sat, and I carried on looking at this thing through the reflection of the TV. And I noticed that it started to shimmer very, very violently. It also started to grow in size as well in the reflection. So to me, in my small mind, this meant that either it's moving closer to me, and that's why it looks like it's getting bigger in the reflection, or it's actually expanding in the room that we're in. And as it got to a point where it was so big and so close to me, I quickly just turned my head to look at this thing, and it glided really, really fast across the floor and up into my face. And obviously I tried to scream, tried to shout for my mum, but nothing would come out. The fear was like nothing I've ever experienced. And I quickly just scrambled up the back of the sofa. I kicked all the cushions onto the floor, and I made my way to the door where this thing had just been stood. And I ran straight upstairs to get my mum, to get my mum's attention. Now, when my mum came out and I started to explain to her what had just happened, I knew instantly by her reaction that this was something that she was aware of, or something that she'd heard of before happening to someone else in the house. Just because she wasn't bewildered, she wasn't, oh my God, what the hell are you talking about? She was almost understanding and quite comforting as to what just happened to me. So yeah, I knew straight away that this wasn't right. What that thing was, I have no idea, but it was something that could glide across the floor and scare the living life out of me.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. So did it ever touch you or anything like that? Talk to you or anything like that?
Yeah, so it never actually spoke to me, but it spoke to my dad. My dad was a long distance lorry driver, so he would spend a lot of time on the road, driving up and down the country, often working very late hours. So by the time my dad got home, everybody else in the household would be in bed. And basically, I'd woke up for school the next morning and looked into the kitchen, and there was my dad sat at the kitchen table, which was weird because usually I never saw my dad on the morning. He'd be in bed from the night shift the night before. So we got talking. I was a bit older at this point, and my dad told me that he came back from work, and usually what he would do, because he'd been working long hours on the road, to kind of bring himself down from, being concentrating all night, he'd put the kettle on. He'd make himself a coffee. And he said he bent down in the fridge. He went to grab the milk out of the fridge, and over his right ear, he heard someone say Gary, which is my dad's name. My dad's called Gary. So he said it was so realistic that he almost turned around to answer whatever this thing was. It was a woman's voice, not one that he was familiar with, but it was definitely a female's voice that knew who he was. He said the hairs on the back of his neck stood on end. And he was just frozen where he was in the fridge. Took him about a few minutes to turn around, and there was no one there.
Wow, see, that's really interesting because whenever my dad had got sick, he was terminally ill, and he was staying in the room upstairs, and he had a picture on the wall.
Yeah.
And the picture on the wall was an Indian, and he would always say that the picture was, talking to him. And he had talked about it felt like something would set on the bed, like behind him, but there would be nothing there whenever he would look. Yeah. And that always freaked. That picture's out in the building. It's gone. It's not talking to nobody anymore unless it's out there talking to the cats.
It messed my dad's head up as well, because my dad, differently to me, he's very. It takes a lot for my dad to believe anything. Like, he'll sit down and he'll talk about this stuff, but he's kind of one of those people that are just like, oh no, yeah, it's interesting, I like listening to it, but he never actually says I believe. Like, he's really difficult to get on board with believing anything. And I think it really screwed with him, because what he couldn't understand is how something that shouldn't be here or physically wasn't here knew his name. Like, that really bothered him. And a few months before that, his mum had passed away. So my initial go-to was that your mum? And he said, absolutely not. It wasn't my mum. I don't know who it was. I've never heard that voice before. But it was definitely a female's voice.
Huh.
That is, that kind of stuff. I've only seen one, like, for me to be able to say that I saw something, like, for sure. I've seen shadows and stuff, and but the main thing I seen that really scared me, the worst thing that I seen that scared me, what I would have called a demon, is my uncle was really sick, and I saw. You would kind of explain it as a shadow, kind of, but not really a shadow, like a 3-dimensional shadow, if that makes sense. Kind of like a shadow that had depth, like it actually. I don't know how to explain it. It was more than a shadow, but it had the same kind of appearance as a shadow, and it walked through the hallway. And I remember, man, that, just that scared me so bad. I remember, because I was younger. I was probably 18, something like that, and I had never experienced, seeing it. I'd heard things that had scared me and thought I seen things out of the corner of my eye, but this was like right there.
Yeah.
And I remember, it was like, what, it changed my whole outlook on things. It really did. It messed with me a lot, because I was just like, what is it doing here? And my aunt was terrified. It was her, it was her house. And she's like, I don't know, I don't know, because they'd had some things happen. My cousin was a little bit younger than me, and he woke up one morning with handprints on his back where something that looked like had slapped him all night long in that same house. And they had a lot of bad things go on there. I know that they did have, they had blessed the house, had the house blessed, and it had stopped. Everything had stopped. I was afraid of that house. I tried to stay all night with him one night, and I've told the story. I was sleeping in the floor with him, and in their kitchen they had a glass of water sitting on the table, and all of a sudden the chair at the table slides out, and then the glass of water just like slides across the table, like somebody sat down and moved the water.
Wow.
I was calling Mom. Time to go home. I was like, I'm not staying here. No.
It's weird. Like you just mentioned there about the house being blessed with holy water. That was something that we did. We went down that route as well to get the house blessed, and activity calmed down for a while, maybe 3 or 4 months, but then it came back with a vengeance. And a lot of people, I always get this. A lot of people always say to me, "Well, why didn't you just move out?" Like I don't understand how anybody would live through that. What people need to understand, I feel, is that it's not that easy. My mum and dad were a young couple. They had 3 young kids. And houses back in those days were heavily sought after. Like if you landed a house that was yours, that was
Right.
like hitting the jackpot. So just to be able to pack the bags through the night and leave or rush out and find somewhere else, it wasn't even an option. But more than that as well, I think the reason we stayed for so long is because the activity wasn't constantly happening every single day. And this is true with most poltergeist cases. We would go 2 or 3 months where nothing would happen, but then all of a sudden you'd have 6 weeks where the whole house was turned upside down. And I think it was those null periods, the periods where nothing was happening, that we thought, well, actually, it's not that bad. We're kind of getting used to it now. And you stick around, and before you know it, time has passed, and it's still in the same situation.
Did it seem like anything y'all would do would ramp it up? Was there like something that y'all maybe would do that would cause it to, or did it just do it?
We used to do some stupid things. We used to do some stupid things. I remember, obviously, between me and my friends, once this got out that Ben lives in this haunted house, and oh my god, some crazy stuff's happening there. This went to school like wildfire. So I'd have friends coming back after school, and we'd sit there knowing that my mum was at work. And we'd all be like, right, if there's anybody in this house right now that can hear us, please give 3 knocks. And then that'd be it. Something had happened or something would move. And we used to literally tormented it. We would get it to do like party trick, or like, it was like almost like a freak show. We would treat it like a freak show. We would get it to do things, and we'd all just run out, and then we'd sit outside the house. My mum would pull up outside work. What are you guys doing out here? Why are you not in the house? No reason, Mum. No reason.
Did you ever see it well enough to be able to like get a description of it? Like, did it look like a woman, a man, a child, or was it always kind of like that shadow?
There was actually multiple entities seen in this house, which is why I don't believe it was just one ghost. We actually got in conversation. Well, not me personally, but my mum and dad got in conversation with the neighbours because they were an elderly couple that lived there a lot longer than we had, so they knew the previous owners. And it was an old woman called Mrs. Bates who died at the bottom of the stairs. She tragically fell down the stairs. Her son was looking after her at the time, with her being elderly, and it one day come around to try and get in the house, couldn't open the door, and found his mum dead at the bottom of the stairs. So we believe that she could be one of the people. She was also quite a religious lady, And so she'd have a priest come round to the house. They'd sit in the front living room, read sermons together and things like that. And the priest actually choked to death in the front living room. So that's 2 people that we know of.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, but then there's other scenarios where my brother woke up one night and he swears that he saw a young girl sat at the end of the bed. He said that he put his head back under the covers, like you see in the movies, lifted the covers back. Right, she should have gone by now, and no, she wasn't. She was still there, so he kind of put them back again. Yeah, but that's
Wow.
3 people.
Yeah, that's the things that I would I don't know, that kind of stuff just really, it freaks me out. I mean, it's like, I don't know, we lived in a house, and whenever I would go to that house, I was fine going to the house if mom sent me there to get something.
Yeah,
But whenever I would leave, I felt like I just wanted to run out of there. Like, it was always the leaving. I don't know why it was the scariest. I just felt like I needed to run.
yeah. In that house as well, like one of the worst feelings was this sense of being watched, and it's very difficult unless you've experienced this firsthand. It's very, very difficult to understand the intensity of what I'm talking about. But this was every single day, wherever you went in the house, whatever time of day it was. It could be a glorious sunshiny day outside. This feeling of being watched was intense, and it was so intense that you could literally be walking up the stairs. This happened to me a few times. I'd be walking up the stairs, and I'd have to stop and turn around because it felt like somebody was that close. They were about to walk into the back of me. And this is again every one of the family members that lived there experienced and spoke about this. It was just an intense feeling of being watched constantly.
Yeah, I kind of know what you feel or mean about that. I mean, some of the things that happened in the house that I lived in growing up too. I told a lot of people that the basement, that particularly the basement, but the corner of the house that my bedroom was on of the house and that corner of the basement was extremely just eerie, creepy, dark, just bad. I mean, just an example, the lights in my room, the light bulbs were always busting, always going out. Nobody else replaced the bulbs in their rooms as much as I did.
Yeah.
And I mean, my parents were like, "What are you doing to the light bulbs?" Like, nothing. I mean, that was just, the light bulbs were always going out. It was always really cold. I had things going on in there, and just an example of like coming up the stairs from the basement, it would feel like something was coming up this. As I got older, it would even be to the point where I would force myself to stop running up the stairs in terror.
Yeah.
And I'd have to stop and actually say, like, leave me alone. Go away. I'm not scared of you. Try and psych myself out and continue walking up the stairs. Like, I'm not going to give you that energy. And I mean, there would be things outside of the house too, but just on that side of the property. It was, I know what you're saying though. Just to have that feeling of being watched. And
Yeah, it's like a physical feeling. It's almost like I said just there, where it will stop you in your tracks. You'll be adamant that someone is literally about to walk into the back of you or stop. In fact, actually, now I'm talking about this, I'll tell you another great story. We was on a family holiday, and we had a dog at the time called Bouncer. He was a golden retriever, and my auntie Jane, she was looking after the house for us, letting the dog out while we was away. And I think we was only 3 days into a 2-week holiday when my mum got a phone call from my auntie Jane saying that we're going to have to get the neighbours to come around and take over, or someone else, because she's not willing to do it anymore. And what she said was that she was going up the stairs and she couldn't get any further. My mum obviously she was saying this in like a frantic, emotional state, but my mum was trying to get out of her what she was actually meaning. And what she said was, I physically couldn't get any further. I went to put my foot on the stairs ahead of me, and it was like somebody was pushing me back. She couldn't make sense of what was happening. She's there on the stairs. She's trying to put one foot in front of the other to get to the top, and she physically couldn't do it. It was like someone kept pushing her back, like a physical force, which obviously freaked her out massively. And she refused to do it. She refused to do the dog sitting from that day forward. But that dog was terrified. Like, I look back now and I think how horrible that must have been. He was terrorized. That dog was literally terrorized. I'd hear him howling through the night. He would run up the stairs and he'd be on all fours. All his hackles would be showing. Every tooth in his head would be on display. And he'd be growling at something under the bed, something that wasn't there, something that couldn't be seen by any of us in the house. But that dog, obviously, with having all the senses and, abilities that we don't have, must have been traumatized.
I had a dog, but I gave it to the neighbors. That thing. We had a dog back when I first got married. It's been a while. We was living in a trailer park, and I got a dog from these people. And I got up one night, and I was working early morning, and I was walking down our little hallway, and I looked in the front room, and the dog is in the front room walking around on his hind legs, just like walking around.
Yeah, that dog's got to go.
Yeah. It was gone because we had neighbors and they was always telling me how beautiful the dog was. They were Hispanic and they were like, "Oh, if you ever want to get rid of the dog, let me know. And first I was like, no, I don't want to get rid of it. But after I saw it doing that night, I went and got my wife. I was married at the time and was like, because it was just walking around like it knew what it was doing. And the next day I was going to work and the neighbor was outside and he's like, "Oh, you still want to get rid of that dog, huh?" I was like, "Yeah, you want it? You have it right now." So I ended up giving it to him. And like probably 2 or 3 days later, I was out working on my truck and he come outside and he goes, "Hey man, that dog you gave us, there was something wrong with it, man. We had to go take care of it." Oh man, I hate to hear that. It was a good dog for me. But yeah, but I don't know, you hear a lot of, animals being affected, either seeing these things or, because what is it, cats? There was a lady we had on our show. She said there was a cat. The cat hated the bathroom. It would like sit at this bathroom. And she went in there one day and I guess tried to confront whatever the cat was looking at. And whatever was in there actually attacked her. Wow. And she said, I think it ended up hurting her kidneys or something like that. I can't remember exactly what she said, but wow. So was anybody ever touched in your house or hurt? Did it ever try to do anything like that? Like,
assaulted is probably the wrong word to use, but the closest I ever came to being harmed by whatever this thing was, I was when my sister was the oldest of 3, so there's me, my older brother, and then there's obviously my sister. She was the oldest. When she had her first child, she moved out of the house, which meant that I got the small back bedroom, the horrible bedroom, the bedroom that nobody wanted, the little box room at the back of the house, which was brilliant. So yeah, I was in that bedroom, and one night I was playing on the PlayStation, I believe it was. And just up to my right-hand side was a shelf which had all my like smellies and deodorant sprays on there. And I was playing on the computer, and in the corner of my eye, I saw one of these little smelly deodorant bottles slide across the shelf and then slide back. So I'm obviously now thinking, wow, I've been playing this computer for far too long. My eyes are playing tricks. So I quickly paused it, looked at the can, nothing seemed out of place. Carried on playing. About 2 minutes later, I see the same deodorant can slide across the shelf and back again. So now I'm definitely 100% certain that what I've seen just happened. This is no imagination. This is no, trick of the eyes. I saw what I saw. So I decided to make a mental note to myself in relation to this can and where it was with the other cans on the shelf. I thought if it moves, I know exactly what it's in line with, where it's positioned. I'll be able to tell. So I carry on playing, and sure enough, I see it go to the end of the shelf again and back. So I quickly pause, and I think, right, I've got you. I turn around to look at the can, and this can that I thought would have stopped moving was still rocking. It was almost like somebody had just tapped the top of this can to make it unstable. So I'm watching this, and I'm confused, and I'm thinking, what the hell is happening right now? Like, what is going on with this can? And all of a sudden, it just flew off the side of the shelf and hit me on the back of the head here, just above my ear. I jumped off the bed so quickly. I got tangled in all the PlayStation controller wires, pulled the PlayStation off the side, scrambled for the door. And as I got to the top of the stairs, I didn't even look. I just jumped from the top of the stairs right to the very bottom. My mum and dad, who was in the living room, They came out, they heard all the commotion, and again, I physically couldn't calm myself down. I was just completely terrified.
Oh yeah. Good grief.
Yeah, things like that happen. One of the scariest, it's not even a physical encounter, but I often think about this story, and it's one that stayed with me for a while. It's my dad's encounter. So at this time of this story, when this took place, my mum and dad was going through a bit of a divorce. My mum had moved out. My dad was the only one left in the house, and he'd just had new carpets laid right throughout the house. So carpets, when they're new and they're not worn in, doors sometimes struggle to open and close on the newly laid carpet. He said that he'd gone around the house, he'd checked all the windows, made sure all the doors were locked, and he started to settle down for the night. He was in bed, he was trying to drift off, and all of a sudden he heard the door push against the carpet, the newly laid carpet. He said that his eyes just instantly were like saucers, instantly, because he knows there's nobody else in the house at this point. All the doors are locked, he's just done a check, there should be no one in that house, but he knows that door is just pressed against the newly laid carpet. So I was like, oh my God, Dad, like, what the hell did you do? Like, tell me what you did next. He said, I didn't do anything. I just lied there and I was staring at the window away from the door. So the door is behind him. And he said, I just could not bring myself to turn around and see what was there. But it gets worse because as he's laid there, going through all these different scenarios in his head, he then hears pressure being applied to the carpet as if someone's walking towards the foot of the bed.
Oh, wow.
He said he just literally laid there, panic mode, and could not bring himself to look at whatever was stood at the foot of the bed. But when he woke up the next morning, because he said at some point I must have drifted off, because I woke up, the door, sure enough, was pushed wide open, which he knows he'd closed. So someone definitely came into that room that night.
Ooh.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah. And sometimes it's kind of like they want you to know they were there. It's kind of like they do it on purpose to say, I was here.
Yeah. Just to cause that fear.
Yeah. Maybe that's how they get their energy as well. If they can induce fear in people, I'm sure there'll be chemicals or emotional things that we release during that state, which they may feed off, which gives them more energy to be more mischievous.
Oh, I think they enjoy scaring. I've even said, whenever I went out, I do, the live investigations out in the field. And a lot of times, like just a week or so ago, I had my first orb encounter. And seeing the orb was, I don't know, it was scary, but it was also amazing to be able to see that. I was like, what is that? You try to understand it. And I was like, what is that? Because it didn't make no sense. And the way it was floating and what it looked like. And then it got really big. Yeah. And then it got really, really small. And it's like,
It's so annoying though. Like whenever we have these experiences, or people out there that have had experiences, it's so annoying because we're left with far more questions than answers, and it will probably be always that way. Like I can't imagine anytime soon. Sorry, that's my dog. I can't imagine anytime soon.
Hi, Lily.
So yeah, it's just annoying when we have these experiences. For as fascinating as it is, we are never likely going to know the true meaning behind it.
So you have a national park, right? The North York Moors.
Yeah, that's right.
Forest, I guess it's a forest.
Yeah, it's a mixture. It's 558 square miles of coast, like rugged coastline, moorland, and forests.
So have you had any wild encounters inside of that forest?
I have, yeah. I've heard things, I've seen things, but not just me as well. People in on my channel, the subscribers, have seen things in the background that I've missed, and it's notorious really for strange reports. And I think another factor of why that may be is that there is a top secret military base situated bang in the middle of the North Yorkshire Moors. Yeah, RAF Fylingdales. It's got a huge dome, well, like a huge pyramid radar system that they claim is for detecting low Earth orbit projectiles. But
That they claim.
I mean, if you Google RAF Menwith Hill radar, you will see it's a really, what's the word? It's massive. It's in the middle of this moorland, and it just stands there all by itself. It's a very creepy looking thing.
So any dogmen or Sasquatch sightings in that area?
Lots, yeah. Well, no, I've never had them personally, but a lot of reports come from people like dog walkers, people on horseback walkers, things like that. They have very strange reports and experiences. A high number of missing dogs as well go and never come back from this national park. So all of this ties in, I believe.
Wow. Yeah, because I was reading about it after I'd seen it. You was talking about it, and it said that it was a really, really hot spot. You know, a lot of people have had some pretty bad encounters there.
Yeah, I've never seen a UFO. I'm just going to jump into this real quickly. I've never seen a UFO in my life. I've seen the paranormal, something that I would consider paranormal. I've lived with that. Like I said, at 10 years old, I had something of an experience with what I would class as extraterrestrial. Never seen a UFO. And one night, me and my brother was talking about going out in his van up to a place called Flamborough Head. Flamborough Head is right on the east coast. Huge lighthouse there. Not really much to do actually at Flamborough, but you can look out right across the North Sea. It's a beautiful location. And it's also really well known for UFO sightings. So we decided one night to go up to Flamborough Head, pull up some chairs, take the flask, and just see if we could have any luck. Never really expected to see anything, because what would be the chances? And we're sat there, it's freezing cold on the North Sea. And it's getting dark. There's only one main track down to the coast, past the lighthouse. And we decided to leave. We was like, look, we're not going to see anything. Nothing's happening. Let's get back to the van. Let's get home. As we're walking up the track, my brother just stops me, puts his arm on me, and he's like, "Did you see that?" So I'm like, "See what?" He said, "Just watch. Keep watching. Keep watching." So I'm watching, and I see these 4 amber lights, these really big inner line amber lights, huge, and they flashed on. So they flashed on here, and then they flashed on a bit further here. Now I'm thinking, okay, let's just wait and see if it follows the same same direction as travel. And if it does, then it might be a plane. Very big plane. Never seen one like it before, but it could be a plane. It doesn't do that. It then comes and flashes back from where it's just been. And we're like, okay, this is weird. No sound whatsoever, no noise. And then it flashes again this way. And now I'm thinking, whoever's flying this thing is really, really confused as to which way they want to go. Like that's the impression I'm getting, is whoever's flying this is seriously confused. As I'm thinking this, 2 fighter planes, 2 RAF fighter planes, come roaring above our head, and this thing just shoots out to sea. It must have been 15, 20 miles out to sea in the blink of an eye. And then these 2 fighter planes go in the same direction. We don't say a word. We're not talking, which is weird. We're just stood there thinking like, basically watching this unfold. And then just as I was about to say, what the hell has just happened? Like, what was that? Above us was a very small wispy cloud. It must have been the only cloud in the sky that night, because it was quite a clear night. This thing with these 4 amber lights eerily emerged out of this cloud above our head. We never saw it come back. We never heard it come back. We don't know how it got there. The last time we saw it, it was out at sea, 15, 20 miles. But there it was, above our head, appearing out of this cloud. So again, we're now excited, adrenaline going. Oh my God, it's above us. Can you see it? Can you see it? And we could clearly see it. Like, I don't know why we was even saying that. But it blinked 2 more times, then it disappeared, and we never saw it again. But that has always stayed with me. Even now, when my brother checks in with me, we're on WhatsApp and we're talking, he'll always be like, "Bro, what was that?" And I'm like, I have no idea what that was. It was definitely not a drone, far too big, no noise. Drones are quite noisy. And the fact that it went back and forth on itself, I think it knew that those fighter planes were inbound way before we did. Because the minute it shot out to sea, literally a second or 2 after, those fighter planes were right on it. But it made them look stupid. I mean, the speed that this thing moved was incredible.
You know, the incident, you know, we had here in the States, which they won't let us talk a lot about it. Some of my friends, they had done some live shows on it, and they actually went as far as demonetizing them. But some of these things that it came, you know, over us that we didn't know what they were, they said were coming from the ocean, also from beneath the ocean.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know, that's a scary thought. I mean, there was people actually outside, you know, like what you talked about. It was right over them,
Yeah.
and they were afraid and they were scared, and nobody had any answers. They're like, oh, we don't know what they are, you know, but you can watch the news channel and they can tell you that this is a flock of birds, you know, migrating, and they're, you know, the little bitty birds, and we don't know what these are. Okay, yeah, okay. We can look at hummingbirds, but we can't track hundreds of UFOs.
Just with you
Right.
mentioning there about things coming from the ocean as well, it brought back another memory that I got. So on my video, I actually filmed this live. This was actually filmed there on the scene. I was planning to camp out at Flamborough Head after this experience, because obviously I became hooked. I wanted to know more. I wanted to see what it was again. And I've got the tent up. It's getting dark. I've managed to get there as late as I can to make sure that everyone's cleared off and gone back home. And in the distance, I see this guy walking his dog, and he's basically coming down the path, which will bring him right past my tent. And I'm thinking, oh crap, this does not look good. Like, I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to be camping here. He's definitely going to say something. So sure enough, this guy stops and he's like, oh, just to let you know, mate, you're not supposed to be camping around here. I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm not camping. I'm just, you know, chilling out for a bit. I've got the tent set up in case it rains or whatever. Anyway, he seemed like an approachable guy. He seemed like someone I could speak to about this kind of stuff. So I just said to him outright, I said, have you ever experienced anything? Because the reason I'm here really is I'm trying to film and document some of these strange reports that come from this area. And he was a bit hesitant at first, but during the conversation, he came up with this amazing first-hand encounter. He told me that early one morning, he was doing the same route. It must have been about 6 o'clock in the morning. And he'd got to the coast, right at the edge where the coastline is. So you're looking down at the sea now. And he said that there was like a whirlpool. It looked like a twister. He thought it was a twister at first, sucking up all the water in like a funnel. So he stood there and he's watching this funnel, this twister type, whatever it is. And inside it was an orb glowing light, like a white light, that just shot up this funnel and into the sky from the sea. So I was like, oh my God, like, I can't believe I'm capturing all this on film. Like this is weird. Yeah, it was like just one of those perfect moments where you speak to a credible witness who comes out with a fascinating story like that.
Yeah.
So you had something go viral, right?
Yeah, that was my childhood encounter with the extraterrestrial, what I believe was extraterrestrial. Yeah, that was crazy.
Do you think it was wanting to take you?
I don't know. Like, this is such a weird thing, because had things not have played out the way that they did, like, had I not have thought it was a prank or a joke, I would have maybe freaked out. And I don't know how that thing would have reacted had I freaked out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, the very fact that I thought this was a joke, it was a prank, was kind of like a godsend. It made me calm, and I always wonder, like, how this thing knew that I wasn't going to run off. How did it know that I wasn't going to run off down the hill screaming to all my friends that I've just seen an alien? Because that's the impression I got. Like, it knew not to be alarmed by me. It was just so casual and so blasé. I don't know how it did that. I don't know how it knew. But anyway, yeah, it went viral. It was crazy. Somebody once told me, when I started opening up about this story, someone once said, oh, you should just reach out to a local newspaper and see if they're interested. And when I say a local newspaper, this is a tiny, tiny, tiny newspaper. So I just thought, oh, well, what harm can it do? Like, you know, they only sell a few hundred copies. The next thing I woke up, it was in China, Russia, India, Poland, Australia. I was like, oh my God, what's happened? But
Wow.
yeah, and that's basically how the story got out. I never intended for it to get as big as it did. It was just crazy.
So did you see a creature? Like, you actually seen the alien?
Yeah. So I was in the Cub Scouts. Anyone that watches my channel, you'll see I'm a very avid outdoorsman, and that's always been the case with me as well. Like, even during school, I would always sign up for like camping trips whenever we was going away. I joined the army for that reason, getting out into the outdoors. And after the army, I was doing wild camping, so I've always been that way. And yeah, in the Cub Scouts, we used to go to a place every summer called Snowball Plantation. It's a bit like, it's a wooded area. It's not a huge wood, but it's big enough for like Cubs and Scouts to stay there for the weekend and put games on, etc. Learn some basic bushcraft. And I used to love it. It was like the time of my life to get there and just be outdoors with my friends. So really excited, got there, had the whole weekend. Everything went perfectly fine. Everything was brilliant. Made some really good memories. And then on the way home, the Cub Scout leader stood up in the middle of the minibus that we were traveling on. And she said, oh, we're going to do a quick pit stop. If anybody wants to jump off for a wee, this will be the last stop. So this would be a good time to get off. Now, I've got to make this clear as well. Like, this was 1997. Times were different back then. Like, you would never get, you know, a group of Cub Scouts standing at the side of the road to take a pee now. But back then, it was it wasn't a thing. So me and my friend, we jumped off the back of the bus and we're stood at the side of the road. And just in front of us is a small embankment, like a grass embankment. I was kind of a shy kid, didn't really want to stand shoulder to shoulder with my friend taking a pee. So I was like, screw this, I'm going up the hill. So I went up this little embankment, and now because of where I am, I have this new vantage point that allows me to see through the woods at the top. So I'm looking through the woods. I can still see the bus behind me and hear the traffic on the road behind me. But in the woods is this little outhouse, like this little brick building, and it's clearly abandoned. There's ivy growing all over it. There's bricks missing. And I'm looking at this building thinking, wow, this is so weird. Where is the rest of the building? Like, I wonder what that was used for. So as I'm scanning the woods, trying to find the rest of this ruin, I noticed something move. It caught my attention. And I looked across, and there was this green, 6 to 7 foot tall creature. It was olive green from head to toe. It had a very small head in proportion to its body. It was spindly, so it kind of stooped over as it walked. And it had eyes that were just a little bit larger than a human's. Maybe two size of human eyes, like the size of two human eyes, and they were black. Or if they wasn't black, they were very, very dark. And I'm watching this thing walk through the woods, stooped over, and I'm like, "What the hell? Okay, I get it. This is a prank. This is all being set up. This is a big joke. That's why we stopped here." So I thought, I'm gonna waste all their efforts because I'm gonna pretend that I haven't seen it. I didn't see anything, and I'll just wait for them to try and mention it to me. So this thing's walking through the woods. It looks at me. I look at it, whatever it is, and it puts its head down and it carries on walking in the same direction without caring the world. And I get back on the bus and I'm just sat there and I'm waiting patiently for someone to say, we got you. You were so scared. We've tricked you. And I waited and waited and waited, and nobody said anything about this 6 to 7 foot tall green creature walking through the woods. And the weirdest part of all of this for me is that I forgot about it. For years and years and years and years, I forgot completely about this encounter. And then in my mid to late 20s, even early 30s maybe, I was at work and it all just hit me. I was just doing an everyday task at work, and this memory came flooding back, and I felt all the emotions. I felt all the same like intrigue and how puzzled I was, and it was just a bizarre feeling to take all this back in. So obviously I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what this memory was or if it was real. So I started to Google things that I thought might make a match. So naturally you just go type in green man, green creature. And when I did this, I realized that loads of other people around the world, not just in the UK, have seen this strange creature that really resembled what I'd seen as well. So that's when it really became real for me. Is what I saw was real. It wasn't a prank.
I done a video. It's been one of my older videos, and my mom likes to fish. So I have an outdoor channel that I do also. So we night fish. We go fishing at nighttime down on the lake where I have all these encounters have happened, all these sightings. So we're sitting down there, fishing one night, and my mom walks up to the truck. The truck's not far from us. It's like behind us, maybe 20 feet. We're sitting up by the lanterns and by the lake, and she hollers at me, and she's like, Mike, come here. And I can tell by the way she tells me to come here, it's like, it's important. So I get up, and I walk over to her. On the other side of the truck, there's a tree that's got a fork in it. And Mom's like, don't look real hard. Just look over in the fork of that tree and tell me what you see. And I was like, okay. So I look over, and my eyes are still trying to adjust from being up by the lanterns because I was fishing. And I can see in the middle of the tree that there's something green, and it's big around, and it's got like black, it looks like black dots on it, maybe. Like
Yeah.
I thought warts at the time. And I was like, oh my God, that's a huge bullfrog, And Mom's like, you better look again. So I start looking, and I noticed that it has two big yellow eyes that are blinking. And I noticed then that there's something standing behind that tree watching us through the fork of the tree. So we had the kids with this, and my mom's like, let's not act like we see it, and let's just load up and let's just leave. So we loaded the kids up and we left, and I went back the next day and took a tape measure, and I measured up to that top of that tree, and approximately about where its top of its head would have been, it was around 7 foot 1 inches.
Wow. Yeah, when you have experiences like that, it stays with you. Like, what the hell was that?
Right. And it was obviously, standing there. What's weird is it was watching us, it was standing back there watching us. And it's like, how long had it been there, and, how long had it been, back in the shadows? Because, the lanterns only throw light so far, and then you have the darkness of the woods, and you're wondering, how long was that thing back there watching us? Or, maybe it smelt our bait, maybe it come up to, because we were using cut bait, we were cutting fish. So maybe it was coming up to maybe grab some fish. I don't know.
Yeah. Wow.
And then the scary thought is, was it interested in the kids?
Yeah, it's like I have no idea why that thing was there. Like I've tried to think about this like numerous times, like because people have said to me, "Oh, do you think it knew ahead of time that you would get off and see this thing, and was you chosen?" And I don't think it's any of that, to be honest. I just think it was a chance encounter. I think that this thing never expected, a minibus full of kids to jump off where it did at the time, and I think it was just literally caught off guard. But more weirder is, how did it know, like I said, that I wasn't going to run off screaming? How did it know to stay so calm, and almost like it does this on a daily basis? It was just so weird. Nothing about that incident was right, but yeah, it's baffling.
I sometimes wonder if these things actually don't realize, I don't know, that some people are able to see them and some people aren't. A lot of times when you talk to people that have experienced or come across a cryptid entity early on in life, or even later on in life, they're more open to the paranormal and alien and, I mean, everything else that goes along, which always made me believe that these are all connected in some way, shape, or form. And that's kind of what discovered going through this.
I agree.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder if that isn't, all the children are like the missing 411 and all those. Is, did the kids maybe see something that caught their interest and they followed it, and and you get so far out, and then it decides that it either wants you or it's scary to think about it, really. I mean, my little niece at my granny's, I have some things I've done. My mom, growing up as a child, would have been in the 50s, and they lived at my granny's house, and they had a lot of things went on there, paranormal and cryptid. Me growing up through my younger years, I also experienced it at my granny's, and my little cousin was playing outside, and she was probably 8 or 10, probably. I was probably 15, a little older, and she was out by herself, and she comes screaming and running in the house, terrified. And at the back of the property is where Grandpa kept the garden, and then the field where they kept the cows. It was taller grass. She said a long, hairy arm reached out of the grass and made the motion, come here, and just terrified her. It was like it was trying to get her to come to it. Now, my mom and one other guy actually seen something at my granny's. My mom was like 11 years old when she seen it. She said she was walking up the steps to go up onto the porch. And when she looked beside her at the steps, she said the only way she knew how to describe what she was looking at, she said, is a werewolf. She said it wasn't like the movies. She said she's never seen anything, she said, that looks exactly like what she's seen. She said, but one of the closest things that she would say was the closest and still not exact would be, she said, the werewolf off of the movie Silver Bullet.
Yeah.
She said that was the closest, but she said not exact. It wasn't exact, and there was a lot of bad things happened at my granny's house. A lot of bad things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like people will. I think when I mention Green Man, I think people assume that I'm talking about reptilian. It may well have been a reptilian, but it wasn't reptile in the way that I would imagine a reptile. It didn't have scales. It didn't have like a long tail. It didn't have like lizard type eyes or anything like that, which you would associate with a lizard. When I've Googled what reptilians look like, that is usually the pictures that come up. That's not what I saw. So if it was a reptilian, it was like a variant of that. The skin was smooth. It looked to me like whale skin, like the texture of whale skin.
Oh, wow.
But it was olive green, blended really nicely in with the forest at that time of year as well. It was summer. It was a red hot day, which again, I think adds to the story. Like it was a red. I remember it was a blistering hot day, and people say these reptilians need to come up to surface to get the heat. So that would explain maybe that as well.
Is that close to a water source where that happened?
I wish I knew. I wish I could give more information. Like people say to me, go back and find out where this woods was. But as a young kid just traveling on the bush, you're not looking for landmarks. You're not thinking that in the next 10 minutes I'm going to have an experience. You're there just chewing the fat with friends and having a good time.
So how? Just out of curiosity, how close or where would that have been, do you know, to the village of Wool Pit?
I'm not sure. I'd have to Google that. I couldn't even give you a number, a figure.
Okay.
As a sighting happened there or something, or?
That's the story of the two green-skinned children that were found naked in the woods.
Oh wow! Yeah, I remember reading something about that actually.
Yeah.
Didn't they turn up in a field and approach workers or something like that, and they had like a really tanned, weird coloured skin?
Yeah, they were green skinned, and they ended up bringing them. Family ended up adopting them or taking care of the village. Ended up taking them in, and they would only eat vegetables.
Yeah.
And the skin color ended up finally fading away and stuff. But I think the one ended up passing away.
Yeah.
But.
Wow.
That's interesting because I assumed it was more like reptilian.
Yeah.
But that's crazy. The connection, maybe, I don't know, possibly. Take from it what you will. But
it's crazy to think as well, like if I've seen that, other people have definitely seen that. Like that.
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you, okay, so the closest thing. And this is why I believe as well that movies, you just mentioned there about, I think it was your grandmother making reference to the werewolf from Silver Bullet, another movie. So this is another reason why I believe that those making films or those in the film industry, they're either being pushed in the direction to create these creatures in the way that they do because someone knows something, or they've had experiences with them themselves. It happens far too often. For example, what I saw is very, very, very close to the extraterrestrial that is seen on the movie Signs with Mel Gibson. The party bit where it steps across the alleyway. That there is almost identical to what I saw. The way that the arms are longer, proportionally to the rest of the body, the small head, the green. The only thing I would probably say is that the creature I saw was maybe a tone or two darker in green, but it's a close fit.
Do you think it knew you was there? Did it look at you or recognize you. Yeah.
Yeah, we made eye contact. Like, this thing looked at me, I looked at it, and I was kind of like, okay, this is a joke. Whereas whatever this thing was looked at me, put its head down, and just carried on walking. It was so surreal. It was just weird.
I agree 100% with you about the films. You know, the movie Silver Bullet, actually, written by Stephen King. He was from Maine, and up in Maine, there was what they called the Palmyra, Maine incident, where a family was actually held hostage in their home by a pack of werewolves. And that just happens to be where Stephen King's from, and he does a lot of werewolf stuff. So it makes you wonder, have these people witnessed this stuff, and then that's their way of telling you that it's out there?
I believe so. Yeah, I do believe so. I mean, if you look at Star Trek, you go back 15, 20 years, and you look at Star Trek back then, when they were stepping up to doors that would open automatically. Now, everyone back then was like, "Oh my god, that is so futuristic! How would the door know that to open?" And now we have those type of doors every supermarket, every clothes store. It's just these things are always being shown to us and then come to be later on.
Well, the original, I think is it the Nokia flip phone or whatever the original flip phone was? That was actually designed. He took the design from Star Trek. I always thought that was kind of funny.
Wow, I never knew that.
Yeah.
Captain James T. Kirk.
Yeah, with his Nokia.
I used to watch that when I was
I always had him down as like an iPhone guy, to be honest. I thought
Yeah, I sometimes wonder too if you hear about the mythology and stuff between other things, and like the muses. The muses were the ones to give the people the creativity and the ideas to form their stories and their songs and all of that other stuff.
Yeah.
And what in modern times stops, and I think these are evil and malevolent entities that are based on these past gods, goddesses, whatever you want to call them. But what is to stop them from, again, giving people these ideas and creativity and to spread the word and spread the information through Hollywood and through writings and through stories and such like that, through their dreams or ideas? And I mean, you could really go down that whole rabbit hole of where these things are coming from and the ideas. Are they really seeing them? Are they thinking them? Are they dreaming them? And then getting that out there and the public picking it up and Hollywood.
Yeah, it's a great thing though. It's a great strategy, really. I mean, if you know these things exist and you slowly put them in movies for people to see, then when someone does have a real life encounter, people will just say, "Oh, you've been watching that movie, Silver Bullet, or you've been watching that movie, Signs." And because it's been put in there, you now don't have a leg to stand on because people just think that you've watched too many movies.
Hey, I have to tell you, that is exactly one of the things that I have been accused of with one of my encounters that I had when I was a young child. Is I was accused of being a fanatic of the Harry Potter series. So, but that was years later. So why did I see that thing that I saw years prior to that when I was 6, 7, 8? I don't know.
I've got two friends that would be the last people ever in the world that would ever even believe in this stuff. They're the type that they just didn't believe in it. And he's an older gentleman. He's in his 60s and his wife's in her 60s. And he called me one night and he's like, "Hey, we just had something really strange happen." And I'm like, "Okay, what?" And he's like, "We were driving home." He went and seen his mom and dad, and he said, "We were driving home late at night and we lost time." And he said, whenever we got the time back, when we realized that we'd lost time, his watch on his arm that he wears had stopped at a certain time. And then he looked and his truck clock had went to that time. And he thought, that's really weird. But when they got home, they had got ready. And then the next day when they got ready to go to town again, his wife put her watch on and she said, my battery's not working. And he said, I looked at her watch, and it was stopped at the same time too.
Wow.
So three watches stopped at the same time.
Yeah, no, that is beyond coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they don't remember part of their trip home either, because there's a part of the trip that, there's like a bridge and everything, and they don't remember that part of the trip.
That would just torment you forever, wouldn't it? Like if you had missing time like that and you can't remember the trip, oh my God.
Yeah. That's what I told him. I said I would be like checking my body, making sure I didn't have nothing implanted or something.
Yeah.
You said on your video, I think that was yesterday's video that you put out there, you had asked the question about one of the things that you think about when you're out in the woods and what would really scare you. And I had been thinking about that. And other than not even like what cryptid or animal or ghosts or anything like else that would be out there my biggest fear would be a crazy human being actually creeping up on me in the middle of the woods when I'm out there, because hopefully I'm the only crazy person out there at the time doing the stuff that I'm doing. But the other thing that would actually terrify me would be for something to happen with missing time. I think that is probably my one biggest fear, is where did I go? What did I do? And not having that control of knowing, what was going on at that time.
I think I mentioned that in the video as well. I made reference to people coming out there and maybe, if you have an enthusiast that's gone out there, or a hobbyist who has an interest in these phenomena, let's just say, and he goes out to the woods and he wakes up, he's only planned to camp there the night, but when he wakes up 2 days have passed. Yeah. And people at work have had to cover his shift. Who's going to believe that?
Right.
Like, nobody's going to believe that. But these things happen. Like, people do have missing time. And something that I'm really starting to understand now as well, which I'm finding interesting, is the more I work with people, like, because I work with people who have had, like, abductions throughout their life and people who have had to move away. One of the things I tell people is moving away is never going to solve the issues that you're having. Like, it doesn't matter where you move, you're the interest, not the location. So people have moved away from this area and they've been abducted again further down south, which is 200 miles away. But young children speaking with animals, mostly birds, whether it be owls, sparrows, they build up a relationship with these birds that seem perfectly normal. And they're having communication with these birds, they're talking to them, they visit at certain times of the day. And then all of a sudden, which is really weird to me, these birds tell the child that I can no longer come back. So I can no longer come back. This will be the last time you see me. And these children are distressed, very, very upset. It's like losing a best friend in many cases. But this repeats itself time and time again. Now, obviously, I don't have to say, I don't think that it's not a bird. I don't think that these kids are having interactions with birds. I think that they show themselves as like screen memories, screen projections. They show themselves as what they believe we would become fit by.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is so weird. We just done an encounter over a lady that sent me an encounter in that her kid was sitting at the window feeding the birds, and she started talking to him. And after she had spoke to him, this thing had come up to her window and asked her if it would give her, or if the little kid would give it some meat. And she ended up letting it into the house, and it ended up getting hamburger meat out of the icebox, and it wanted to go into the parents' room, and the little girl said, no, we can't go in there because mom and dad will get mad. But wow, that's really weird.
Yeah, that happens a lot. It's something that I'm really looking into at the minute, because this has been happening sorry, Lily's limping. Yeah, this is something that's been happening for a while. So with these young children reporting these birds and things, the similarities are just eerily similar, like having friendships with birds. And yeah, it's weird. It's bizarre.
Huh.
I don't know if it helps you any, but it seems like whenever I go out on my investigations, if I hear owls, it's usually a pretty lively night. If I don't hear them, it's usually a pretty quiet night. But man, when you start hearing the owls, and some of the owls don't sound like owls. I mean, they sound like an owl, but they don't sound right. It's like, is that an owl? Because it sounds off.
Yeah. Yeah. People report that with the Bigfoot phenomenon, don't they? Cryptids mimicking other sounds of nature. So it does make you think when you know that information, when you have that information to hand, straight away you're thinking, "Oh my god, isn't it?" I once nearly became a victim to my own dog once. That this was a great test. So I was out on the North Yorkshire moors, and it's late, so I was out trying to collect some firewood, and it's getting dark. You cannot see through the trees at all. I go off. I put some noodles out for Lily, so I've got some noodles. I think, oh, screw it. She doesn't really ever have human treats, but I thought, why not? I'll just give her these noodles, which is a high value treat. So she was really engaged with these noodles. While she's doing that, I'm walking off. I've got my hatchet in my hand. I've got my saw in this hand, and I'm trying to find some firewood. The next thing, Lily has charged up on me, and she's barking like mad. So now instantly, she only ever does that when there's people around. So I'm thinking, shit, like I'm not on my own. Like someone is out here with me. Like who would be out here? And then I look back at Lily, and I realise that she's fixated on me. And I'm like, girl, you all right? What's going on? What's going on? Right. What had happened was because she was so fixated on these noodles, she didn't realise that I'd left camp. So the next thing, she's looked up and she's seen this guy walking through the woods with a hatchet and a saw. I'm like, Lily, it's me, Lily. I thought honestly she's lost the plot. She's gonna get. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So from that point forward, I thought, right, okay, I know I'm safe. I know she's gonna have my back if anyone.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I watch a guy.
She did this look where she put her ears down. Like as soon as I said, "Lily, it's me," she kind of put her ears down, looked at me, and said, "You idiot! Do you know how embarrassing this is for me?"
I watch a guy on YouTube. He's from Canada, and he goes out and does survival stuff in the woods. And he has a German Shepherd that he takes with him everywhere he goes. His name is Greg Evans. I don't know if you'd heard of him, but he goes up and man, he does all kinds of stuff in the woods. And he always has that dog with him. That dog is so smart. From that dog just being with him out there, as soon as he goes, the dog will actually go and start gathering firewood and bringing it to him.
Wow, that's brilliant.
Yeah, and I mean, this guy is hardcore survivalist. I mean, he went out and he couldn't find nothing to eat. He's way in the mountains, and he's like, "Well, I didn't bring no food, but I brought food for my dog. I always make sure my dog has food." So he shared a can of dog food with the dog that night. And then the next day he continued on. He's like, "You can eat dog food. It's fine. It won't hurt you." And I was like, I'd have to be hungry.
Yeah.
But yeah, that dog's amazing though. I mean, that dog is like, he talks to that dog, because he don't have anybody else with him. It's just him. Yeah. So he talks to that dog just like it's his friend. And that dog understands so much of what he says. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's like Lil. I mean, I've spent so much time with Lily, and I've put a lot of work into her. She's so smart. It's unbelievable how smart she is. But yeah, she's my little sidekick. It wouldn't be the same going to the woods without Lily. Just looking across and seeing her there doing her own thing, and just the patterns. Like I know her behaviour is what she does when we're out, and it's nice.
Yeah.
I've got a little dog. We have it runs around in here. We call it a little werewolf. It's just a little black dog, and she thinks she's mean. And I took her outside the other night. I was laughing at her. I was standing on the porch, and we live out in the middle of nowhere in the country. And she starts barking. She's got her tail up, and she's all, acting tough and running toward the end of the driveway. And she runs toward the end of the driveway, and the coyotes start howling. And she starts yipping like they'd already bit her. And she runs back. She's just digging at the door. She was ready to get inside. She's like, "I'm not tough no more."
Yeah. I've done my bit. This is over to you now.
Yeah.
Is Lily a lab, or what kind of a dog is Lily?
She's a mixed breed, so she's a rescue. She came from Romania.
Okay.
Her dad is a Belgian Tervuren. I'm not really sure what her mum was, but yeah, whatever she is, she's beautiful. I mean, the great thing about Lil as well is, like, if I have off days where I just can't bring myself to get out, she'll happily just sit there for 2 days with me. But on those other occasions where I just want to get out and I want to hike miles and do loads of crazy stuff, she's right there with me as well. So she kind of matches my lifestyle wherever I'm at. So that's perfect for me.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I believe they are our best friends. I mean,
yeah. definitely.
I had a blue heeler when I was with my daughter's father, right after my daughter was born. We would go like camping and fishing and stuff like that. And I originally we originally got the dog for her father as a birthday present, but he was more my buddy, my protector, and he protected my daughter as well. Like I would be doing stuff in the kitchen and she'd start crawling out of the room and he would actually herd her back into the
Yeah.
kitchen to make sure that she didn't, get into trouble. But, we would go fishing and he was right there in the water trying to grab the fish out of the water and all happy when he would get one. And, but when we were at home in the apartment that we actually lived in, he was actually terrified. I shouldn't say terrified. He was pretty scared of her father. He was always yelling at her and stuff. And he wasn't allowed on the couch or on the beds when he was home. But when he wasn't home, he was like I'd get ready for bed and he'd be right up there, curled right out next to me on the bed. And he would hear her dad coming in the house and he would like sleek off the bed. Like, I wasn't up there. I don't know what you're talking about. But there were many times that he would wake me up in the middle of the night before her father would come home because he worked late. He worked in the kitchen. And you'd hear like the door of the apartment open. And for him to actually, because again, he was kind of scared of her dad. So he would actually, there were times when his hackles would go up and he would get to the edge of the bed and he would growl. And I could actually feel him like vibrate the bed. Like he was like getting ready to whatever it was coming through the house. And you could hear footsteps through the apartment complex.
Wow.
And he would growl and like I couldn't even touch him. Like he was just in one of those like attack modes. And then you would hear the footsteps walk back and the door close. And he would slowly start to like, you could feel it calm down. His heckles would go down and be like, "Okay, Toby, you okay?" And, "Oh yeah, yep, I'm good. We're good." Like, you're going to make me freak out here in a minute. But it would happen a lot. But I knew it wasn't like her dad coming in that door because totally different response. And I know that there was crazy stuff going on in that apartment. But I have to say, he was one of the best dang dogs I've ever had.
Yeah. Sounds like the perfect dog. People always ask me like, "Oh, what equipment do you take with you when you go to the woods?" I'm like, "Look, the best equipment that I own is this dog. Like, there's no equipment out there that can do what she does. Like, she can smell things from miles away. She can sense someone without even seeing them. Like, she's the best. So yeah, in terms of equipment, I don't think you'd get much better than a dog.
Right. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to find me a dog that ain't so scared. If I took my dog, she'd probably take off running home.
Just find one that doesn't walk on its hind legs around the house.
Yeah. Or at least if it does, you trained it to do that.
Or if at least it does, you've trained it to do the hoovering as well, or the pots.
And don't watch The Conjuring late with your dog.
Yeah.
Man, that movie was scary. I did watch that. It was scary. I couldn't imagine. I don't watch a lot of scary movies though. I never have really. I don't mind like the old werewolf movies and stuff, but when it gets into like The Conjuring and what was the other one, the Nun, I haven't watched that. Everybody's like, The Nun is really scary, and I'm like, nah, probably not for me.
I'm a sucker for the found footage kind of ones. Like, I know it got a bad rap, but I really loved Blair Witch Project. I think the fact that we don't see anything, and I think the fact that nothing really much happened, is what makes it scary, because it's more believable. If something's happening every 2 minutes, it's like,
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of like the Alfred Hitchcock movies, that unknown of what was going on and the storyline behind it, not knowing. Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I like those.
Yeah. Well, Ben, I've had John an hour and a half, man. I won't keep you any longer. But
that's gone so quick.
we definitely though would like to have you back, and I really do appreciate you taking the time to come on. We're honored to have you with us and everything. We'd like to have you back sometime too. And go ahead, and I want you to plug your channel, man. Everything that you're doing, where people can find you and support you and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So my channel is the 401 Files. Actually, it's 401 Files, not the 401 Files. So 401 Files on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. I'm working on a documentary at the minute. This has been in the process for about 2 years now, so I am going to start picking back up with that. Hopefully get released this year. I'm doing a conference this week. I don't know the location, which is terrible of me. So I will post that over on my community post on YouTube, but I'll be there on Saturday doing a live talk as well. So yeah, you guys have been awesome, by the way. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I enjoyed
Yeah,
this.
we're glad to have you. We'll definitely have you again. And if you want to, Ben, you can. I have a Facebook page, same as this, Abnormal Investigations. You can post your conference on there if you'd like. I'll have the moderators approve it, and that way you can get it out, and people can come over and support you. I think you're doing good things, and we really enjoyed having you for sure.
Oh, brilliant! Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. We're honored to have you.
Yeah. Yeah, stay safe out there.
I will do it. I'll try.
Hey, good night. You have a great night, I guess. I guess it's nighttime there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's just gone midnight, so it's getting.
Oh wow. Yeah, it's almost 6:30 here.
You guys enjoy the rest of your night.
You too.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
I'm really glad we met him. He's a really nice guy. He's got a lot of good information.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So what did everybody in chat think? Did y'all enjoy 401? I think he's had some pretty scary encounters. And did y'all notice, and what I noticed mostly in the live, did y'all notice that he had a lot of the same encounters I did? And what I have experienced out boots on the ground, and I've never spoken to this man. And the encounters, the green thing, and how everything is just spot on. I mean, how does that, and he's across the ocean, and we're having the same thing, guys. To me, it just proves the Bible is correct more and more, that whenever God flooded the earth, the fountains are what separated us into the different continents, and all these things were once here and now they're everywhere. You know, I think they're everywhere. What do you all think? I'll look at some of the chat and I'll give Jessie, she wants to expand on it, but it's just amazing to me.
Well, and I just want to say, I do have to say thank you, Belinda, because she's the one that actually introduced him to us. So after, she mentioned a couple of the videos and watching him and stuff, and how close and everything matched up and resembled, and all of the experiences and stories and situations that was going through. So thank you, Belinda. But that even says too, being on the show and doing our own research and stuff, sometimes we miss other great investigators and boots on the ground and other individuals that are out there on YouTube. So when you guys, I would say when you guys do come across and find something that, please reach out to us and let us know, because prior to getting on to YouTube and doing this myself, I was always watching something else. And now Mike's like asking me, hey, what do you think about this? Or have you heard of anything? And I'm lost. I don't even know anymore. I can't do the stuff with the show, do the stuff with my show, and everything else that's going on in life, and still follow up on a lot of the other creators and content and everything else that's going out there. So I would say if you guys come across somebody just like Belinda did, please definitely send them our way and tell us to check it out, because otherwise it's a tough thing to do this. It really is. So thank you, Belinda. Thank you very much.
People don't see behind the scenes that creators live on these channels. I mean, if we're not doing a live or preparing for a live, and the depending on what we're doing, if it's a boots on the ground or if it's an actual investigation or if it's sharing an encounter on a breakdown, there's a certain level of time it takes to prepare each aspect of the show. The investigations I do, they're the more lengthy ones I do, because you really have to research, and the notes and the paper and the ink that I go through, because I still, as you can see, I still do the old way. I believe in the pads, and that's how I was taught and trained. And I have different colored pens all over the place. Each color represents a different aspect to my notes. That's the way I've always done it. But if you're sitting and being an armchair reporter, you're missing out on truth, because if you're not out there like me, I mean, I could sit here and listen to people tell their encounters of, I seen a green thing, in the woods, and I'm like, okay, well, that's scary, but since I've been out there and I've encountered it also, I'm like, wow, I know what you're talking about, and it brings a whole different depth, because you're able to, have that relationship to what they have seen and what you've seen. You can compare what you've seen to what they've seen, and it becomes more rounded, more real. And without people going into the field and doing the boots on the ground, we're relying on other people's opinions. And DA will be one of the ones to tell you, he former law enforcement also, and I believe he done investigations, is even a person that is considered an eyewitness is not 100% testimony. And a lot of people don't know that. But in a court, an eyewitness is still not 100%. Where you get that is your expert witnesses and so forth. And I'm not going to break all that down, but it just has a whole different aspect when you have two people that have never spoke to one another, that live across the world from each other, that have one conversation, and they've had the same experience and described the same creature. How do you not say it's not there? Now, I've had some people sending me some clippets, and I'm going to just talk about this a little bit, saying, on the last encounter that I had, that there was a creature that walked in front of the car / human. If you read my thumbnail, I said, did we capture something or a human? I put it something like that. I don't remember the exact wording. And the reason that I have to do that is because I have these clowns that are jealous of me, and they have followed me. They have, what would you call it? Stalked me, I guess, and threatened my life. They've threatened my life several times with written papers and stuff. And everybody wants to say, oh, he went out, and he put the ducks out. He put the ducks out. Well, I want to reiterate something and kind of clear something up as an investigator, to kind of help you all clear your minds and expand your mind. That way you can kind of see the lies that they're trying to portray to you. Okay, so let's go back to that first video. We go on the first video, and if y'all will remember, we find the ducks on the culvert. And when we find the ducks on the culvert, we stop, we look at them. Sarah looks at them. There's a note. The note is actually right here. It's like, at dawn, we attack. Okay. So whenever we first seen them, we did not touch them, because I didn't know where they come from. I didn't know what was on them. I don't, you never know what people's going to do to stuff. I mean, you just don't know what's on them. There could be anything on them. So I told Sarah, now let's not mess with them. Let's just go on, do our thing. Okay. Now, if you'll remember in that video, and I know Jessie will remember because she was moderating, whenever we leave the culvert, and a lot of y'all were there too, we drove approximately 2 miles from that location to a place on the lake. And I got out, and we was investigating, and I said I heard a door slam. I said, it sounded like a car door. Whenever we went back and got into our vehicle and we were leaving, one of those ducks was in the middle of the road. Now, from where we found the ducks at the culvert to where I went on the investigation, I never stopped the vehicle. Y'all were with me. I never stopped the live. The live continued to roll. We were continuously on. That shows that we were stalked that night, and that was put in the road. So, I mean, the misinformation that is trying to be placed out there on pretty much boots on the ground is under attack, unless you are one of the friends of the people doing this, and then you're legit, which right. I've seen things, I'm just going to say, he has said himself that Hellbent Holler was hoaxers. That's out of his own mouth. I seen a post the other day on another thread that was sent to me where somebody else said they had a recording of him saying that. Do they have it recorded? Probably so, because I've heard him say the same thing. Do I know that they're hoaxers? No, I don't know. But it's those kind of rumors against any boots on the ground. If Hellbent Holler don't like me, I know they don't like me. But to be fair, any rumor about anybody that's not proven or anything, all that does is hurt the community. It doesn't matter who's saying it. And I think that if we step back away from it and we look at things with an open mind, common sense would play such a huge deal in this community, is for people to use common sense. And I think that we would come a long ways if we were just able to do that, because when we go out and we do those things, not only are you putting yourself at risk, I'm at risk by, I feel like humans. I feel my life is at risk. I feel my family's life is at risk. I have been doxied. I have had violence incited against me. It continues to happen. There's violence incited against me and my family every day. And for all of you that watch this show, you know that we're not doing any attacking on this show. We're simply looking for cryptids. And when a point comes where I have to defend myself, then I have to defend myself. But, you know, as an investigator, and I know a lot of you all are smart, you can see what's going on. It's evident. You know, I think that the smart people can see, you know, that's.
Well, and they are if they haven't before, they are definitely starting to come around and see.
It was a conjoint effort to try to destroy me because I was gaining, and jealousy is a very evil thing. But tonight, guys, I'm tired of even talking about that because it just gets so old to me. I'm winning, and I'm winning big, and I'll be seeing Hunter soon, guys. So things are working out. So, I mean, you see who the liars are, right? So moving on from that, tonight, guys, at 8:30 p.m., we are going to have the one and only, the real author, the real person that puts the pen to the paper, the fingers to the buttons. D.A. Roberts is going to be joining us tonight, and I'm very excited to have him on the show. And OCST is going to be joining us tonight. OCST will be co-hosting with what's her name there? No, Jesse. They're going to be co-hosting with Jesse, and we're going to have a great night visiting with DA. I think OCST has a lot of questions for DA. I have some questions for DA. Jesse, I believe, has questions for DA. DA is a remarkable man, and I will say that he has been a true friend through all of this. I want to brag a little bit about him. Every time, folks, that I've reached out to DA, there's not been one time he has never got back to me. That is the truth. He's a good man. He's a fair man. He's an honest man. He has a good show. Go check him out. Go subscribe to him. Help support him. It is shows like that that we need to succeed in this community, not ones that want to destroy each other. Remember, it doesn't take any flame from a candle to light another one. When your cup is running over, call your friends to bring theirs. That's how you grow a community. And with that, I'll let you start walking us out of this one, because in 2 hours, less than 2 hours, we're going to be live again. So
yeah. So I'm just going to make it short and sweet. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I hope you enjoyed. I can't wait to have him on again. I really enjoyed talking with Ben. So make sure you guys go and subscribe. We will see you all hopefully in about 2 hours. God bless, and we'll see you later.
Everybody, thanks for coming in. Thank you, Ben, for coming on the show. It was a pleasure having you. We do hope to have you again. And what does everybody think about seeing the comments on the screen? Does everybody like that? I think that's a new addition that a lot of people are going to like when I'm not able to throw your comments actually up. Your comments are on the screen now. Do you like that? Can you see that on your end, Jesse?
I can. Yeah, I like it. Oh, wait. Don asks, is it 8 Eastern, 10 Eastern? We're on 8:30. 8:30 Central.
8:30 Central. Central Time. We're living on Tulsa time. We will be Central Time down here in Oklahoma. 8:30. Should be a good show, though. But, guys, thank you so much. God bless you, Hunter. I love you. Love you more than you'll ever know. Can't wait to spend a lot of time with you, buddy. Your Wide Open Adventures channel's growing, so ready for you to come back, and you and Logan to help me do some more adventures on that. I'm excited. God is good, guys. Glory to God. We'll see you in a little bit. God bless. And I guess this is kind of like a little break before we do it all over again. So
Intermission.
it's an intermission. We will see you all in a little bit. Thank you all.
Bye.